This is a discussion on photography, and specifically with the focus on Ansel Adams. It makes more sense. Oh gosh, I have dark circles under my eyes. It makes more sense if you watch my last video where my lovely wife and I toured the DeYoung Museum of Fine Art in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, California. This particular adventure was going to be focused on the Ansel Adams exhibit that was visiting at the time. And as Providence had allowed it, I don't know, I guess you could say, that was on Saturday, and today is Wednesday of the following week. I was at the thrift shop, as is my custom between appointments, and I happened across this 1981 documentary, Ansel Adams Photography, on video cassette, directed by John Huzar, produced by Andrea Gray and John Huzar. I would be interested to hear from them if they see this video. You can find this particular 1981 documentary for free on YouTube. Someone took a digital copy of the 4:3 aspect ratio VHS, and it is for free. It is 3 years before he passed away, and there's a little snippet of him and Georgia O'Keeffe, who was in her 90s at the time. 58 minutes of your time, well worth watching just to see him in his final years. And I had developed a love for photography as a young boy. My mother went to an estate sale, and I mentioned this in another video, particularly talking about Viewmasters, which is 3D photography. And, you know, through that medium, even though it's slide film, you got to see the world through 7 3D color photographs per reel. And that would have been in probably 1995, 96. And I just fell in love with photography at that point through the souvenir Viewmaster reels of the 40s and 50s. And I had always appreciated the photographic works of Ansel Adams in black and white. And to see his prints in real life was pretty awesome. So we got our little descriptive here. Side note, after this video in 1981, in one of the little snippets, Ansel Adams was astounded that one of his photographic prints at the time had sold for around $46,000 in the late 70s, and he was blown away by that. And he wanted his life to be remembered by the quality of his work and his work in general, not so much things named after him. And I had researched a little bit even furthermore after that, and thinking what kind of stuff sold more recently. The most expensive of his prints sold for $988,000. And he passed away in 1984. So in the last couple of, I think last year, at 2 separate thrift shops in Modesto, I picked up this book, Ansel Adams, Yosemite and the Range of Light. This one I paid $4 for. And this book is from 1979 originally. And this is 1981 publication date, signed in felt pen by Ansel Adams. And this is a souvenir commemorative edition. And then shortly after that, within the same month, at another thrift shop in Modesto, I found the same exact book. This one is the original 1979 release. And it doesn't have that plate signed by him, but he signed the actual introduction page there, title page. Different, larger signature. And this one is also done in either a felt or ballpoint pen. So I was just really enthusiastic, and my wife's like, sell them. And I was just like, I can't sell something like that. I hoard. So I have probably a 10-gallon tub in my garage of pictures I've taken since high school. And during my high school times, I primarily shot my photography with this Canon AE1. That's a 1981 Winter Olympic Edition camera that my parents, I believe their neighbor had gave this to them. I haven't been using it a lot lately. I do have Fuji Acros 100 speed film in there right now. I think. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I do. Yeah, I wouldn't have left that tab in there. I recently had this cleaned, and I got this little eye cup on eBay because I never had that. But this camera will be with me till the day I die. And I recently sent my friend Vince similar AE1 that I had picked up for $47 at a thrift shop up in Folsom. So what I find myself, and I am no Ansel Adams, I feel like the only time, and I feel like this is one reason why I wanted to kind of make this video, the only time I ever print photos is never from this. This, I take thousands of worthless photos, but the only time I ever get anything printed is when I take it with my 35mm camera. And my grandmother gave me the Pentax that she used throughout the 90s, and I've primarily have been using this point and shoot. It does have a zoom. It's just a simple, fun camera. And it's easy to hand this off to somebody at a party and say, hey, take our picture together. So versus, you know, the old SLR, it does have an automatic feature, but you gotta focus it up and everything. And it's still idiot proof compared to what Ansel Adams was doing. But, you know, even in a modern era, it's like you hand this to someone and they act like you're from Mars compared to giving them an iPhone or an Android phone. And I feel like this is why I have been doing my whole Video 8 series of family tours, because it's there. You have a 2-hour record time. And whenever I'm at the thrift shop, I can't tell you how often I find new old stock, unopened Video 8 tapes. And I bought this camera 2 years ago at a thrift shop for $7. It is a Sony Video 8 camera from the late 90s. And this is not the original one. The one that my parents bought new back in 96 and that we used in the 90s is this Sony right here. This is the model CCD TRV41, and it started having some issues. It would just power off randomly, and then I found that one, so I primarily have been using that one. That other one is not as good. This one has a Steadicam feature. It has a much bigger LCD screen if you don't want to look through the eyepiece, which I primarily look through the eyepiece. But I like to document family outings on this because if the grid ever goes down or something happens, you have your hard copies here in their little jewel case ready to go, and they're safe. Although it is supposedly a degrading media, they say. I feel like if you store it in a right temperature in a climate controlled environment and keep it away from moisture, it does last. And when I do make those videos, I rip it onto a digital file and put it on a hard drive right away if it's of importance to me. And you know, it's a fun creative outlet for me. Just like he was talking about how people didn't really respect photography in the art world. Museums were for artists, and photography was photography, and art was a painter. And even in 1981, they said they were still trying to find their place. And you know, there's nothing like a silver nitrate print compared to just some image on a digital camera. That is why I'm kind of gravitating for a lot of my things that I'm doing with family documentation back to these bulky, clunky, hard media. I mean, walking through a museum with this Video 8 camera, it was embarrassing, and people are staring and snickering because I was the only guy there on Memorial Day documenting the experience with this a camera like this. Most people are just with their iPhone stealthily videoing, and I think that this did draw negative attention because the docent came up and said you can't video in here because this is obviously a video camera. If you're videoing with this, recording with this, nobody really knows and no one's the wiser. But I just want to encourage all of you, and my cousin Gary has embraced this. He's gotten a couple of cameras and he's taken some film pictures and he's posted it on his social media. Gary J, that is. So get out there, Vince. This one's for you, and I'm excited to see your photography. And I've already said it in a couple of letters and whatnot. It's just it was very inspiring to see a master like Ansel Adams out there in his early 80s saying that even age doesn't want to slow him down from what he wants to do. He still wants to get out there and take pictures and make imagery and work hard for what he loved. And that's kind of what I've done with the whole YouTube channel. It's one of the things that I find very enjoyable. It's not a burden whether I'm doing a video review or just kind of giving some people introductions into things that I'm interested in like this. So that's pretty much it. Little 11-minute snippet of my hobbies, I guess. Until next time, we'll see you then.